guys, and welcome back to another video of Stonegate Wellness and Stonegate Classes. I'm Justin Phillips, and today we're going to be talking about the Broadsword figures of 8. Now, this, like some of our other videos, is something that can apply to both broadsword and straight sword. It's going to be a good exercise to increase wrist mobility, shoulder flexibility, and movement and coordination through the hips. This is a crucial skill to have with the swords, as you actually see this pattern over and over and over. If you've watched our video on the threshing of wheat motion and how to apply it to combat, you'll see where this motion appears in the form. We're going to talk about a basic drill to help get that motion smoothed out, okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to assume our basic ready stance. If you're a righty, we're going to be right foot forward. If you're a lefty, just reverse all my directions, start left foot forward. I'm going to start with the blade in just my basic forward ready position. Now, what I'm going to do from here is I'm just going to move the blade in two large sweeping arcs to either side of my body, crossing in the middle, making a figure 8 pattern. What I'm going to do is from here, I'm going to bring the blade up towards my left shoulder. Now, as in all of Tai Chi, the hips follow the power hand, which is going to be the sword hand, so as I do this, I'm going to turn my hips with that. I'm going to bring the blade down, across, back to the other side, and across. Down, across, back, and across. Okay, this is going to be my first figure of 8. And there's a couple things that I want to make sure that I'm doing with this. The first is I want to make sure that I'm leading with the edge of the blade at all times. What I don't want to do is come back here, and you'll see some people that as they make this transition, they'll flop the blade flat. You can see how the flat of the blade is now sweeping to then turn back into this cut. I don't want to do that. At all times, my mind needs to be in the edge of the blade, and I need to be leading with the edge of the blade. This is where the chi is in broadsword, is this front edge. So I'm going to come through, and all the way through, you'll notice that this edge is leading. There's no point where that edge isn't pulling forward, okay? So I'm leading with that edge, keeping it to the outside. The other thing I want to do is bear in mind that this is broadsword. Broadsword is fought from very tight to the body. So what I want to do is I want to keep this angle in my elbow and in my wrist. I don't want to let my wrist flop around. I don't want to extend my arm. I don't want to cut down and then reach out and come back and reach out, because that's going to wear me out. What I want to do is I want to keep this position right here. This is also a wrist conditioning exercise, so as I come back, I don't want to flop the wrist out and then pull through with the arm. I want to keep the wrist in this position. You can see as I come back, the wrist doesn't really change positions as I roll through. Same on this other side. As I come back, that wrist maintains its position as I pull through. So I want to keep this position because that's really going to emphasize the wrist and really build strength and stability in that wrist, so that as you're doing your broadsword combat, you've got some stability to that wrist. Now, there's a second figure of 8. Basically, we're just going to reverse what we just did. And what we're going to do is, rather than pulling with the edge, I'm now going to push with the tip. And in fact, if I start back, all I have to do now is change direction. So I'm going to push with the tip, come over the top, push with the tip back, come over the top, push with the tip, come over the top, push with the tip. Now, you'll notice that I'm doing the same thing in this figure of 8 that I did in the other. The blade continues to always be to the outside. As I'm pushing with the tip, I'm not coming back, flattening out, bringing it up, and rolling it back. The blade stays to the outside of the arc at all times, because that's going to be my outward edge, my outward defense. I always want this pointed away from me. I'm also continuing to maintain this wrist and shoulder and elbow position, so I'm keeping that broadsword tight to the body and making these figures of 8. Now, again, you'll notice that the hips are turning, following the power hand, because in Tai Chi, the hips point to the power hand. So I'm following through, following through, following through, and that's going to be my two figures of 8. So I've got my forward roll, where I'm going to be cutting with the edge, and then I've got my backward, where I'm going to be driving with the tip. Okay? So those are the two figures of 8. Right? Make sure you click like, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our great stuff. We've got some other great broadsword stuff coming up. We've got some Qigong stuff coming up for you before too long as well, so keep an eye to the ground for that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those below. We love to hear from you. We're very interactive, and we promise we'll respond. And we'll see you guys next time.